Agri Roundup. We are going to talk to Dr. Ashok Gulati today about the initiatives announced in the first 100 days of the Modi 3.0 government. Welcome to the show, Dr. Gulati.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Gulati, please tell us about the initiatives announced in the first 100 days of the third term of the Modi government. Are these initiatives just run-of-the-mill and incremental progress, or you're seeing something significant?
Well, I must say that it's not just the run-of-the-mill, and there are some significant changes that Modi government 3.0 has initiated in the agriculture field. To start with, I would say the very fact that they have brought somewhat a heavyweight minister, Mr. Shivraj Singh Chouhan, on the seat of agriculture as well as rural development. Both the charges have been given to him, and he is one of the very, very experienced person for the Modi government, because he has soiled his hands in Madhya Pradesh, the longest serving chief minister of Madhya Pradesh in a way. And he has turned around agriculture in Madhya Pradesh. So there is a success story behind him. So he knows pretty well how to play the game. But whether he will be able to turn around the scene at an all India level, because agriculture is a quite complex thing, and states have to play sort of an orchestra along with the minister at the center, and whether he'll be able to build up that type of a harmony in the orchestra and play with the other chief ministers to turn around agriculture. But it's a good sign. So I would say that's somewhat a significant change compared to Modi 1.0 and 2.0. So the leader matters, and that knowledge, that experience is with him, and hopefully he will play the right cards. There are some other things also which are, I would say, a continuity. The first file actually in Modi 3.0 that he signed and he did was on agriculture, distributing 20,000 crores, which was actually a plan that started off PM Kisan in Modi 2.0, and he has continued that. It may not be a very significant amount given the size of the clients in the country, agriculture households, but still I would say he has put the right step forward on that. There are some other major challenges, and I think those are important because right now, as we talk, agriculture is facing the biggest challenge, and that is the climate change. And on that front, either you have extreme weather events, either heat is up, or suddenly the downpour of rain is so heavy that it floods. So if you recall, I think Prime Minister from the fields of the farmers, he had released 109 varieties, which are climate resilient varieties of, I think, number of crops, I think 60 plus crops, 65 or so. So 109 varieties they have released. And then they announced a number of schemes, I think 7 in total, for which another 14,000 crores have been allocated roughly separately, starting with digitalization of agriculture, climate resilient agriculture, and higher productivity agriculture, and something for the livestock sector, especially on the health side of the animals, and so on and so forth. So there are new schemes, especially the digitalization. We can get into the details of that if needed, because that's something new. And so I would say climate change and the allocation for that, because we were complaining in a way that in the budget, there wasn't much increase in the budget for agriculture ministry, especially ICAR, Indian Council of Agriculture Research. The budget was more or less the same. So in real terms, actually, there was a marginal decline. So we were a little unhappy on that. But with the announcement of these schemes, I can understand now the budget of ICR would also substantially increase, and that is focused on climate change and climate resilience, how to have agriculture that can face the extremes of both heat as well as floods. So the effort has gone into that.
And the digitalization schemes, should we get into a discussion on that? If you could tell us what has been announced and why it has been announced, and what would be the outcomes that you would expect.
Very interestingly, this is perhaps the first attempt to identify each and every plot, each and every farmer who is cultivating it, what crops are being cultivated. It can be monitored in today's world, actually, as Google can give you each car where it is moving and where it is going. So it should be easy given the level of technology. We can monitor each plot. And then if you go forward, this is the identification of the plot, the farmer, but it has to take into its logical conclusion. And that's where the triangulation of data sets. At present, we have a huge data set. Who is buying how much of fertilizer, for example? That data set is sitting separately. Then we have another huge data set of soil health cards. The government had spent a lot of money to do the soil health card testing. What do those soils need? But these data sets have not been triangulated together to tweak the policy properly. And I'll give you one little example. Fertilizer subsidy. Uh, Food and fertilizer subsidy, these two together are almost 4 lakh crores out of a union budget of 48 lakh crores. So these are the biggest subsidies. Our research at ICRIER shows that in both cases, food and fertilizer, there is a leakage of anywhere from 25 to 30%. It doesn't reach the beneficiary. And we can get into the details, and we are coming out with a separate policy brief on this.
In fact, the
So
economic survey had shown that about 45% is leaking to industry as well as across the border to other countries.
yeah, that was the earlier report in 2014. After
Yes.
that, there were all sorts of POS machines installed, and checks and balances have been done. And the government may feel, oh, there are no leakages. But when you look at the data and cross-tabulate and look at for example, when the consumers say how much they have got it from a public distribution system, or input output data tells you how much of fertilizer actually is consumed in agriculture, you see a wide gap between what is supplied and what is consumed for the fertilizer one, and similarly for the food one. And we find that on an average, roughly 25 to 30% is the leakage. It is not going to the identified beneficiary. It is going somewhere else. And that's natural. I can understand, because our urea is the lowest priced urea in the world. So you are creating incentives for its diversion, right? And since it is not linked to what your soils need, how much urea you should be putting in, although you have done the soil health card, testing has been done. But anybody can buy any amount of urea and use it or not use it, or send it to Nepal or Bangladesh, or to the plywood industry or glass industry. That's where the diversion takes place, because it is so cheap. In fact, there are stories the urea getting into milk formulation in UP. Certain cases have come into that. So, given that story, the digitalization can help the government to triangulate all these data sets and see what is the common thing that needs to be done. I think if they do that, then I can assure they can easily save 20 to 25% of the amount they are spending on it. Fertilizer subsidy, for example, uh, 20 to 25% saving would amount to roughly 30 to 40,000 crores. And that will be the best use of this digitalization of agriculture and soil health cards. If you can do that, you have a massive saving that you can put as investments in agriculture for irrigation or climate smart agriculture, or even in the livestock industry or horticulture side to augment the farmers' incomes. My only submission to the government on this point is it is a great step. It is a forward-looking step, and given the level of technology on digitalization, and India is a stalwart already in the world on IT technologies, but unless they take it forward to streamline the food and fertilizer subsidies and check all the diversion and leakages, uh, unless that is done, then this investment will remain a pygmy investment. But if they are able to do that, then the same investment, roughly I think 2,000 crores they are going to spend on this, uh, will give them a benefit of more than 20,000 crores. So 1:10 ratio. And if they do it in the food subsidy side also, what is the point of giving free rice to a rice producer? And you can give directly cash to their accounts, at least the agriculture household who are producers of the same commodity. And that will lead to a better diversified diet, better nutrition for them, and will plug all these leakages. Our reports from the field, when we check, even if there are POS machines installed in PDS shops, fair price shops, the reports are that he will come and he'll take the fingerprint, but instead of giving 5 kg, they will give 4 kg per person. Free मिल रहा है यही ले लो अभी आया नहीं पीछे से all those excuses are there. So the data from the consumer side, how much consumption or how much offtake they are taking from the PDS versus what the government says they have supplied through PDS, there is a leakage of 25 to 30% again, like fertilizer. So both these are the biggest expenditures of the government in agri-food space, uh, and both can be streamlined through digitalization, and the savings are going to be enormous. And those savings, if they are plowed back into agriculture as investments, agriculture will start flying.
And Dr. Gulati, when you say the triangulation of these data sets, does the ministry have the capacity to do this? Is it something very complicated, or they can easily just be done?
Uh, you know, Ministry should not be a technical body to do all things. Okay. Uh, I would say they can hire any expert body as knowledge partners and get that job done. Just at present, for example, they are already doing AgriStack, and number of apps are being put and information is being put. But they are all like supply driven. Oh, this is the weather today, so you should apply this or start sowing or this or that. They are not trying to go to the big ticket items, fertilizer subsidy, how we need to deal with that, food subsidy, how we need to do that. So that's where the question comes whether Modi 3.0 is ready to bite the uh, big bullet, or are they going to announce some incremental things to improve something? Okay. If they really want to save, and out of these two, food and fertilizer, I can write on the wall, you can save at least 40 to 50,000 crores out of this to invest in better agriculture and high value agriculture, build those. But then you have to take this digitalization route and triangulate different sorts of data. But there
But
is something more important. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Dr. Lati, what was on the mind of the government when they came up with the digitalization plan? Was it the fertilizer and the food subsidy rationalization and plugging of leakages, or did they have something else on mind?
Uh, I'm not 100% sure on that. My feeling is some work had been going on even in Modi 2.0 of building an agri stack. And that is basically more advisory to the farmers, readily available, do this, do that. Uh, I think given the power of digitalization, through AgriStack, you will be using only 20%, 30% of the capacity of digitalization. Because ultimately it's an issue of how much money you are putting in the as investments in the agriculture sector, or if you are not putting as investments, then on the welfare front, how much you are helping the farmers. And I would say that the best way to do that is through direct income transfers. Uh, you may attach some conditions to it, but all the leakages you can avoid because it is going directly to their accounts. So, and today that is possible. 10 years back, perhaps that was not easy. It was not possible. And when even PM Kisan started off giving in the, initially they thought there are 140 million farmers, and now they're down to 93 or so, you know, because they found that all sorts of people just
Yes.
dividing, they were trying to become farmers. And so all this process and the possibility of doing that is now, or right now, because it will take 2, 3 years to settle the process. And then the real benefit of that will come when they are fighting the next election in 29. So I would say अगर करना है तो आज करो, नहीं तो नहीं, कभी नहीं होगा ये.
Like, they will miss the bus, you're saying. And when we say agri stack, I suppose that's a bit like, at least in terms of nomenclature, like the India stack. And India stack has a layer of the private sector app and aggregators where commercial transactions take place, and all the ease of doing business that they have introduced. Will the India stack also have something? Oh, sorry, will the agriculture stack also have something
No,
similar?
you can put anything from beyond advisory to how to produce and what seeds and what rainfall and when to irrigate and not, but also ONDC platform like the marketing platform, uh, online commercial platform can be put on that. But the issue is, in case of that, if sitting in Delhi, I buy something from a farmer in, let's say, in Karnataka, the logistics have to be arranged to take that. It's not a stock market that everything can be done right there. Ultimately, the goods have to move. And therefore, the logistics stack also has to be put in place. So whether government can do that or big players, I mean, Amazons and Flipkarts of this world are doing all that. They are, what is their real thing? It's not just the digital platform, but the logistics around that, right? So same thing is, how do we get farmer having access to the markets in Delhi or Mumbai or other places? It's a very big challenge, and major players have to come in to solve the logistics parts, the standardization part. And if they don't supply the same quality which they have shown on the computer, then as a consumer, I have the right to return. Now, in case of perishable commodities, it becomes a major challenge. Now, some uh, new entrants have come in to distribute even perishable commodities. Even milk is being distributed online and so on and so forth. But it requires a much bigger investment to create an all India platform, the way Flipkart or Amazons have done. And we are way, way far away from that. on the agriculture side.
And what about selling inputs to farmers, like selling urea, etc., to farmers? Can that be done?
That can be there. That is part of the agri stack. So input players can come in, and since input players are spread all over India already, so the question is how the logistics have to be performed and supplied to them. So that's one of the things in agri stack in any case. So, but agriculture is one part, and I think Shivraj Singh Chouhan has been entrusted also with the Rural Development Ministry. And we will not be able to do justice to this, roundup if we don't talk about at least two major steps that have been taken under rural development.
Yes,
And
please.
one is, the announcement of 2 crore houses for the poor in the rural areas. Overall, it is 3 crores. Out of that, 2 crores will be in rural areas, 1 crore in the urban areas. And I think that's having a huge allocation, more than 70,000 crores or so for that. So that's a huge investment and a permanent structure. And I feel this government needs to be commended for that. In the earlier one, creating toilets, giving a high priority to creating toilets, and now after piped water and the houses, pakka houses. I think this gives a huge asset creation in the rural areas for the poor, and creates a better hygiene environment, and that will control many of the diseases that the rural areas suffer from, adulterated water or not having toilets and so on and so forth. So, and I would say it's not a sort of a regular everyday subsidy, but this is an asset creation which can also create demand for cement or bricks, or, if they are using any iron, steel, or, but it can create jobs of masons, of carpenters, of electricians. So in the rural areas, off-farm jobs, this has the potential to create that. So I'm very happy to see that they have announced that. Now, of course, the implementation will be the key, how fast they can do it and without much leakages they can do it. So this is one. Second thing, on the Gramin Sadak Yojana, they have announced major allocation for that again, and the big, allocation in terms of taking it forward 25,000 kilometers further down. So we had earlier looked at the research part that if you are investing in rural roads, it has a very high impact uh, in terms of agriculture growth, because it links the markets on both sides for inputs as well as the output side. And it reduces the poverty very fast. In fact, we have done this type of research in a number of countries, and rural roads were always a priority. And for that, we have to salute and commend the initiative which was started actually during Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee time. So his vision is being implemented today at a much faster pace. And for that, the road minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, also needs compliments for that, a doer in the government. So if you see agriculture and rural development together, I do see a reasonably good hope in Modi 3.0. A lot will depend upon how they are implemented. But the big bullet is food and fertilizer subsidies, whether they will have the appetite to take that head on and streamline that. That is still a question mark, because after having burnt fingers on the farm laws, I'm not sure whether they will take these big reforms in food and fertilizer subsidy. Rest seems reasonably on track.
Right, let's wish them all the best and say thanks to you, Dr. Gulati, for explaining Modi 3.0's first 100 days agriculture agenda to us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.